In this video today, the new Attorney General Pam Bondi has instructed the Department of Justice to defund blue cities who get in the way of Tom Homan and ICE agents from deporting illegal aliens. Also, President Trump signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. These stories and much more in this video, but let's hear Sean Hannity sum up exactly what Pam Bondi did on her first day.
Attorney General Pam Bondi was sworn in this morning, wasted no time getting to work. Our new Attorney General issued a slew of directives, including orders to fight the weaponization of the Department of Justice, work with the DHS to help eliminate cartels, lift the death penalty ban. She also cracked down on sanctuary cities and states, ordering the DOJ to pause all their federal funding.
Okay, so that was Sean Hannity summing up all of her executive actions as the new Attorney General. Of course, CNN had some things to say about all of that, but we want to focus on first, which I think is the biggest story here, and that is defunding blue cities for trying to hinder or prevent Tom Homan and ICE agents from deporting illegal aliens. Let's take a look at that memo now. It says, this is the first one right here, in funding to state and local jurisdictions that unlawfully interfere with federal law enforcement operations. She's referencing these blue city mayors and leaders who refuse to cooperate with Tom Homan and ICE, especially when they're trying to deport these illegal aliens who have already committed crimes. Also, she's smart. She says this: identify and evaluate all funding agreements with non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that provide support to illegal aliens, because it was uncovered in that whole USA scandal that we have been sending millions of dollars to help provide services to illegal aliens who are trying to hide from getting deported. I mean, that's what's really going on here. And number 3, pursue enforcement actions against jurisdictions that facilitate violations of federal immigration laws or impede lawful federal immigration operations, which is what I was kind of saying earlier, if they plan to get in the way of Tom Homan. Now, according to The Independent, because I think this is a worthy question, how is she able to, I guess, defund these blue cities? Well, that, I guess, implies that the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland had been funding blue cities in the name of grants, right? And so it's being reported that several offices within the Justice Department provided $1.56 billion in grants to sanctuary cities in 2023. And yes, of course, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, a nonprofit, warned how slash funds could endanger sanctuary jurisdiction. Now, if you're a firm believer in America first, then you're happy about Pam Bondi, because it's very clear at the top of that priority list is immigration and making sure that we are deporting illegal aliens, that we are using the legal side of everything to make sure we can execute this whole mass deportation operation in a legal way. I believe that's obvious to me. Now, CNN actually didn't give that much attention. They were more focused on her other priorities, which I don't think you'll be surprised to hear. But let's go ahead and take a look.
So she laid out several different objectives. The first one, the most notable one, is that she's going to review cases that have been brought against President Trump. Not only the 2 federal cases, the classified documents case we just referenced, the election subversion case, both brought by Jack Smith, but also the case in Manhattan, the so-called hush money case where he was convicted, as well as a civil case that he also faced. She also signed memos dealing with everything from DEI, something we've seen across the government change as Trump has taken office, not only the internal policies, but externally. She said that the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department will be used to prosecute what she describes as illegal use of DEI in the private sector or educational institutes that accept federal funds. She also just laid out how their overall priorities will change and how she wants prosecutors to shift their focus to immigration, human trafficking, and protecting law enforcement.
It sounds like she's doing what you would have expected from the prior Attorney General to do, which is to prioritize common sense policies within her department, of course, and that is the DOJ. Now, she was sworn in at the White House. They caught it on camera, and she also had some remarks, particularly giving thanks to President Trump. Let's go ahead and look at that now.
Thank you, President Trump. I've known you for many, many years, and I will not let you down. I am truly honored that you have asked me to take on this role, and I will make you proud, and I will make this country proud. Thank you. And I just want to thank all of my friends who are here today, my dear friends and my family, my mom, my husband, my pastor, Aaron Burke, is here. so many of my good friends and my colleagues. So thank you all so much. And I will restore integrity to the Justice Department, and I will fight violent crime throughout this country and throughout this world and make America safe again. Thank you.
Alrighty, so if you're enjoying this video and you really want to support our channel, just do something really quickly. Like, share, and subscribe. Or if you want to support us further, you could go to the links in the description below to shop our merch store or buy us a cup of coffee. Now, here's what Pam Bondi has an opportunity to do. To show the American people that the Justice Department has their priorities straight. I say that because it was just reported that 40% of FBI agents were spending their time doing what? Investigating January 6th defendants. 40%. What about human trafficking? What about organized crime? What about fentanyl crisis? What about firearms being smuggled in and out of America? I mean, those are things that I believe the Department of Justice and especially the FBI should be focusing their resources on. That's why some people believe in order to make that happen, you need to remove the individuals who were already corrupted under the last Department of Justice. But MSDNC doesn't see it that way. They believe this is Trump weaponizing the justice system in his own way. Listen to it for yourself.
They appear dead set on either investigating or firing anyone that worked on bringing the criminals to account that helped the president with his coup.
Right. And this is in some ways the scariest part of the agenda. This is the wholesale endorsement of violence as a tool in politics. Because if you really look at democracies that have vanished, violence has always been a tool of the would-be autocrat. And over and over again, they are telling you that they are going to do everything possible to immunize anyone who uses violence on Trump's behalf, and they are going to target and persecute anyone in law enforcement that tries to hold accountable anyone that is engaged in violence on Donald Trump's behalf. That is essentially a green light to anyone who goes out and tries to use violence to disrupt a protest against Donald Trump or to try to harm or hurt a political opponent of Donald Trump's. And so all of us on the Democratic side of the aisle are completely rethinking our security posture.
Okay, well, clearly he is definitely out of touch. He is not living in this same world that me and you live in, because it's very clear they are the ones currently right now inciting protests to come out and scream at the top of their lungs using violent language in order to protest President Trump and Elon Musk. They are the ones currently doing that. So I don't know where he gets off believing that people who support Trump will turn violent and they have a green light to do so, all because Pam Bondi has just been sworn in as Attorney General. I don't know how he is connecting those dots. Now, something that Trump did do that connected dots for a lot of parents around the country today is he signed the executive order ensuring that men will not be able to play in women's sports. Let's watch it.
You want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature because this is, this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Good. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you. Great going, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you, kids. Here. Take a pen. Thank you. I'll give some of these out, okay? Take a pen. Take a pen.
Thank you so much.
Now, that's just a great moment where he has all of the girls around him that play sports. And politically, this is a home run for him. He ran on this. He promised he would do this. And for parents out there and people who have a great deal of common sense, this is something that was well overdue, because the path we were going down with Joe Biden was not one that was going to be good, because he was looking to change Title IX to support that type of policy, allowing men to play in women's sports. Now, here's what he also had to say, which I'm surprised the media isn't melting down over these comments.
In Los Angeles in 2028, my administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes, and we're just not going to let it happen, and it's going to end, and it's ending right now, and nobody's going to be able to do a damn thing about it, because when I speak, we speak with authority.
So let me show you the opposite side of this debate. This is coming from Ghetto Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. On National Girls and Women in Sports Day, Trump is banning trans kids from playing sports, trying to cut Title IX women's and girls' athletic grants, removing references to women, female, and equality on government websites. Let me be clear. This doesn't protect women. Now, obviously, everything she wrote is just completely false, okay? Banning men from playing in women's sports. That's the correction. Trying to cut Title IX women and girls athletic grants. No, grants for people who are pushing trans agenda in sports, okay? Thirdly, removing references to women, female, and equality on government websites. No, removing the T and the Q from government websites. That's what's happening here. And that's why the White House responded by saying, Jasmine wants a dude to be able to steal your daughter's trophy and then allow him to underdress next to her in the locker room for good measure. What is wrong with her? It's a good question. Speaker Mike Johnson said this: men have no place in women's sports. President Trump's executive order puts an end to the unfair and dangerous practice of allowing biological men to compete against women. Common sense is back in the White House. However, that didn't stop ESPN from being woke themselves. They put this: President Donald Trump will sign an executive order Wednesday designed to prevent people who were biologically assigned male at birth from participating in women's or girls' sporting events. Biologically assigned. I didn't assign anybody. Doctors don't assign what your sex is. You're born with it. What are you talking about, right? Of course, the White House responded to that and put men. They're called men. Now, there are overwhelming numbers supporting this move from President Trump, which the White House did publish, by saying President Trump's new executive order is supported by the majority of Americans. Men do not belong in women's sports. And here's a Gallup report, or a poll rather, that says Americans' views on transgender athletes comparing 2021 to 2023. Now, in 2021, as you guys can see, it was 62% of Americans only want teams that match the birth at gender, okay? And now it is increased to 69%. And guys, that's just common sense. Now, the NCAA did announce their response to this executive order. They pretty much are just stating that they will provide a more official response after they review everything. But the bottom line is this: the NCAA Board of Governors is reviewing the executive order and will take necessary steps to align NCAA policy in the coming days, subject to further guidance from the administration. The association will continue to help foster welcoming environments on campuses for all student athletes. We stand ready to assist schools as they look for ways to support any student athletes affected by changes in the policy. And I'm sure you guys know what he is really saying if you read between the lines, which is he's going to do what he can to protect trans athletes. Now, one thing I want to actually note in all of this, because Trump has signed more executive orders than we can count at this point, we have to understand the Democratic Party will fire back. Not today, but in the next 6 months, you're going to see them deploying legal alternatives to stop this from happening, meaning all these Biden judges that were put in place. This is why I tell people elections do matter, because the president appoints these judges that are going to hear these cases. And yes, they're going to try to stop every single executive order that came out of the White House over the past 2 weeks. You guys can bank on it. Now, one area that they were not able to prevent using legal action, that is the unedited version of Kamala Harris's interview with CBS 60 Minutes. It has now been released by the FCC after CBS was threatened with a $10 billion lawsuit from President Trump. What we're going to do is just take a look at a couple of these clips and enjoy ourselves.
I'm trying to understand how it is that with this emphasis on the border, the numbers of crossings quadrupled under the first 3 years of the Biden-Harris administration. How did that happen?
There are a variety of factors that relate to what we have seen globally and what we are not immune from at our own border in terms of what we have seen in terms of surge of immigration and irregular migration. And there are solutions at hand, but we've got to have leaders who are solution-oriented, which we've been and are.
When you look back at the unedited version, one thing that truly stands out to me is how big of a bullet we actually dodged as a country. I don't think there's any debate around that. And they keep talking about that she may run for president in 2028. Please do so, because she's such an unlikable candidate. And we've talked about her ad nauseum. But guys, I just found it to be sweet justice that the FCC forced CBS to do this. However, even though we know all of this, she is still polling higher than any other Democratic candidate at this point for the 2028 presidential election. Now, some people believe she'll never win another election, and I agree with that, which is the point that Stephen A. Smith was trying to make on the Sean Hannity show. Watch this.
A recent poll of potential presidential nominees shows former Vice President Kamala Harris in the lead at 33%, followed by former Transportation Secretary Pothole Pete Buttigieg at 9%, Gavin Newsom at 7%, and the recent vice presidential nominee Tim Walz sits at 3%. 1 point behind him is our friend Stephen A. Smith, who is currently the star of First Take on ESPN, and he said he might consider a run. Really, Stephen? Let's ask him. Stephen A., how are you? Okay, what you said is, I might entertain running for president. You can't afford the pay cut by your own admission, and if you run, your party would never nominate you because you're far too reasonable, although I have a couple of bones to pick with you tonight.
Well, first of all, number one, you're absolutely right. My lifestyle is quite lovely, and I would not want to ruin that by running for the presidency of the United States of America. I have no interest, but I was just trying to make a profound point, and that is that I think the Democratic Party in the state that they find themselves in, I think somebody like me could actually win. I certainly think that I could beat any of those candidates that you put on the screen. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, he makes a phenomenal point, and I'm going to keep saying it myself, that any person who tries to run on the Democratic side that speaks the language of the voters, and I'm talking about from a place of common sense, okay, and is definitely relatable and not out of touch, yeah, they have a good chance of beating any of those candidates. Kamala Harris, done. Gavin Newsom, done. I don't even see any of those two ever getting a chance to be nominated unless the Democratic Party continues to do what they've always done, which is handpick their candidates. And I hope that actually happens, because then I know Republicans are poised to win again. Now, we also have some breaking news. It has been announced by the State Department that U.S. government vessels can now transit through the Panama Canal without charge fees, saving the U.S. government millions of dollars. So for all those people out there that were crying over Trump and his threat with tariffs and how strong he was, or firm rather, when it came to the Panama Canal and the negotiations that took place between the Panamanian president and Marco Rubio clearly has bared a lot of fruit for our country. And here's just an example of that right there. I wonder if the Democrats are going to come out and say, hey, you know what? This is a good one right here. We can celebrate this as a win for all Americans, because we're talking about U.S. tax-paying dollars. Of course, there were a lot of stories that we covered in this video, but my question here is very simple. Do you believe Pam Bondi, now that she has been sworn in as the Attorney General, do you believe that she's going to de-weaponize the Department of Justice and she's going to focus on the right priorities? Or do you believe she's going to be on a vengeance tour and try to prosecute every single individual FBI agent or attorney that was a part of the January 6th prosecution and the other sham investigations into President Trump? Let me know what your thoughts are about all that in the comment section below. Now, speaking of sham prosecutions, the Democratic Party is making the same mistake they did in the first Trump administration. There is now a congressman by the name of Al Green who has come out and has introduced the idea that he will be filing articles of impeachment against President Trump. Now, there's additional stories that you're going to want to see as we talk about that particular story. So if you want to check out that video, all you have to do is click on it, because it's coming up right now.